What are you doing? Welcome, everybody. See some people starting to come in the room. We're going to give it a couple minutes before we get started. But thanks for being here, and we will get started shortly. If anybody wants to put in chat where they're coming in from, company names, locations. Keep an eye on the chat. And people coming in. Can you give it a couple more minutes? We're just at the top of the hour. Let some people come in. Welcome to everybody who's here already. You're throwing it in everybody's face, Jeff, that you're Florida.
Well, it was
Those
a
of us that
chilly
are
7 degrees here the other morning, so I'm just happy it's warmed up again.
A chilly what, 70?
It was a chilly 47 the other day. The whole country
47.
got cold, including South Florida. So yeah.
Yeah. Coming back tomorrow. So it was very chilly in Atlanta this week. I received a note from my building to about it was going down to 23, 25.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so not, it is on the chillier side for Atlanta. Okay, a couple more people coming in. I'm going to give it one more minute and then we are going to get started. Hi, Sally. Glad to see you here. Okay. All right, I think I'm going to get started to just respect everybody who shows up on time. We appreciate it. So hello, everybody, and welcome to CoachSource's first Friday webinar for December. Can't believe that we've been doing this since February and we're at the end of the year now. Thank you all so much for joining us today. And we give, as always, a particularly warm welcome to our current clients as well as our not yet clients on the call. I'm Mary Dombrowski. I'm the SVP of Client Engagement with CoachSource, and I lead both our current client service teams as well as creating new client partnerships. For those of you not familiar with CoachSource, we are the largest pure play global executive coaching firm. We have been in business for over 18 years, and we have over 1,200 coaches globally that we deploy for leadership transformation, typically at the director level and above, including C-suite and board. CoachSource hosts webinars such as this on the first Friday of every month. At CoachSource, we believe inspiring leadership transforms organizations, and these monthly gatherings are dedicated to empowering HR business partners and leaders of talent inside organizations with insights, strategies, and expert guidance on leveraging executive coaching to drive organizational excellence. And if you have any specific topics you would like to see covered, feel free to email me at mary@coachsource.com. We would love to hear from you. So this month, I am joined by Jeff Nally, CoachSource Chief Coaching Officer. That's a bit of a mouthful, Jeff, and executive coach himself, and our CHRO, as well as Amanda Layden, VP of Client Success, who leads our amazing client services team. Our discussion today centers around the skills that senior leaders need to effectively grow and scale their organizations in 2025 and beyond. As we've discussed previously, CoachSource works with leaders at the highest levels of the organization, from the C-suite to VP and director levels, who are the key drivers of leading teams to grow and scale. In our coaching engagements, the most common themes we see come up are executive presence, communication, and influencing others, all very important. But that doesn't really get to applying these themes to the very real challenges these leaders are facing, moving in faster and faster paced environments, a constantly shifting landscape, making decisions with less than full information, and in most cases, inundated with information, all while leading a team. So we're bringing Amanda's purview from the client perspective together with Jeff's view of the executive coach perspective to discuss these very real business challenges leaders will continue to face and how executive coaching supports them in the success of these leaders and their organizations. So we'll go on for about 45 minutes, after which we'll open up for Q&A. Of course, you're welcome to drop your questions into chat, and we'll do our best to address them in real time. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to you, Amanda and Jeff, for what I know is going to be a lively and interesting conversation.
Thanks, Mary.
Yeah.
Jeff, do you want to kick it off?
Sure. So one of the things that we have been talking about and seeing in the organizations we work with, and you've been seeing it too in your organizations, I'm sure, is this notion of everything is uncertain and leaders need to change like in the moment. So when when do we get signals that leaders need executive coaching to make this kind of shift? If you've been like me and you've led coaching or been an internal coach inside a large company, or you've led HR and been in charge of development for senior leaders and senior executives, you know, you can actually watch leaders, sometimes unintentionally, just get stale in their role. So some of the things that we are doing with coaches and executive coaching is to help our clients figure out, like, when is it the best time to do that? A lot of times it's when you actually see a leader relying on the way that they led 6 months ago, and you know things have changed in the business or with their team, or they have actually turned around products, output, or relationships that are really shifting in front of their eyes, but they keep showing up the same way. That's a great time to bring in executive coaching to shift and turn and get them to accelerate their leadership in a new and different way. And then when their impact in the business needs to change, even if it's just incremental, the product, service, process, or output they and their business unit or team provide needs to be different. That's a great time to bring in coaching to accelerate that shift. And another one is when the team that they lead needs to perform differently or produces something in a different way, because that's where the organization's headed. That's where the industry is headed. That's where your customers and clients are headed. They'll sound like kind of obvious signals, but sometimes leaders themselves just kind of get focused on what they did and how they did it, and they just keep doing the same thing. And it's our job as HR and our job as executive development leaders to say, you need a different lens, and that's a great time for executive coaching. Amanda, what are you seeing with respect to some of
Yeah.
our clients?
So my lens right now, you know how those of you who are on Spotify right now, you're getting pushed your yearly wrap up. You know, like everybody has their wrap up about like what songs did I listen to the most this year? What happened? What phase was I in? You know, apparently my DJ yesterday said February you were in this R&B phase. I was like, what was happening? So I'm kind of looking at it as we're having conversations with our clients right now, and we have been in multiple conversations this week and last week and next week
Every week.
because we're what's that?
Every
Because
week.
every week. But you know, it seems that it's picked up pace because all of our clients right now are looking at their wrap up for the year and thinking what went well, what didn't go well, what's happening in our organizations, and how do we kind of change the tune for next year. And so some things that we're hearing a lot right now from our clients and where we're helping them create strategies to really navigate this is that there are leadership transitions or gaps. So perhaps there's newly promoted or hired leaders, they're struggling to adjust to their new roles. There might be a lack of readiness in the pipeline. There may be succession planning gaps. We're hearing that a lot. We're also hearing that spans of control have changed. So it may be that organizations have gone through some type of reduction in force, and now they have less leaders at the top, but more people that they're managing. And so, how do they start to navigate that and leverage executive coaching in a way that really creates an impact and fast? Because those folks need to get up to speed in their roles. They need to understand how they can influence the people that are working for them. And so, we really bring executive coaching in as a tool to help them do that. The other thing we're hearing, particularly in certain industries, because change is happening so rapidly, is that there might be some poor team dynamics or the team dynamics have shifted. And so, how do we help them to not just address the short term issues, but the long term issues or the misalignment that might be happening between organizational goals and their leadership styles. And then finally, the last thing that I'm just hearing over and over again right now is around innovation and growth stagnation. Jeff, you kind of mentioned it in terms of a leader lens. I'm also seeing it, or we're also seeing it in terms of an organizational lens. And so, how can we help them find the right coaching modality or intervention to help them pivot to market changes, or to help a leader who might be hesitant to take risks to be able to step up to the plate to take those risks when they need to innovate, when they need to grow?
That's great. Hey, can we go back to your first number one, like new leader in a new
Yeah.
role or new
Yeah.
leader to the company? So
Mhm.
I know you've seen this a lot, and I have too. And with all due respect to my HR and executive development colleagues out there, when a new leader moves into a new role or a new leader comes into the company, we typically turn on all the onboarding systems, which is a good thing, and don't back down from that. But what I've seen not work well is when we ignore the one-on-one executive coaching stretch development that happens in the midst of this onboarding. One organization actually has a really robust onboarding for external executives that come into the company, and they dovetail that with coaching for those senior executives. And the coach focuses on something totally different. It's not a repeat of the onboarding. It's not a therapy session for how is everybody treating in your onboarding. It really is. You have all this information, you're getting into your role. It might be first 90 days or first 6 months, but what is it you need to shift in your thinking now that you're here, your motivation, and now that you're seeing your stakeholders, what does that look like? The most unique, well, I won't say unique, but most critical, short 5-month executive coaching for an external leader coming in I saw was when the executive coach and the new executive were they focused their coaching solely on what is my relationship with the board of directors
Mm.
now that I'm here.
Mm.
Onboarding really handled a lot of the logistics and the team and the getting of the company, and they were able to kickstart the relationship with the board. So hats off to everyone who has a great onboarding experience. Don't forget to dovetail that with executive coaching. And for those of you who are trying to bring in new talent or trying to make it attractive for leaders to move up to senior executive levels in your company, couple and a one-on-one executive coaching process with the offer. Don't let them fumble or fail in their first week or their first 6 weeks. Make the coaching happen as they start and roll. And we see tremendous success with that, and they accelerate their performance and impact as they step into roles.
Yeah, Jeff, that's great because we are having those conversations right now about how CoachSource can provide a coach to support those leaders during those critical junctions in their career, junctures in their career. Ooh, can't speak this morning. Because these leaders are facing unfamiliar challenges, and so that the coaching gives them a structure or a framework to manage in ambiguity and to prioritize effectively. That's something else that as organizations are looking back on the year and looking to the year ahead, they're asking us, and leaders are asking us, how do we help these leaders enhance their adaptability, their flexibility to be able to prioritize better in ambiguous environments? And so, coaching, when we bring our executive coaches in, it can help them build the confidence, it can help provide clarity, help those leaders, especially if they're in a new role or something has shifted, to create a vision and a purpose for the team, to be able to outline effectively what it means, what's being asked of them, what they're asking of their teams, how do they make decisions, and to be able to pivot quickly.
Yeah. Let's pick up on that uncertainty piece and kind of look at it externally. So, if your organization is like our clients, it used to be back in the day we could say, so what does executive development look like for you in the next 6 months or a year, and everybody had a plan. And now it's really difficult for people in organizations at the senior level to say, here's what we think the next 3 months might look like, but we're not really forecasting certainty around anything at this point. Everyone's kind of looking close in, and whether it's economic conditions around the world, supply chain issues, political challenges globally, whatever the external forces that kind of keeps that uncertainty going. Um, Sometimes our first instinct, and I can say this because I've led HR in other companies and led executive coaching in other companies, is to like withdraw. Like the
Mm.
last thing we want to do is focus on executive development. In 2008, I was the internal coach practice leader at Humana. And I see some folks from Humana here. Good to see you. When 2008, when the economic crisis hit, the Wall Street Journal called and said, so, in light of all of this economic uncertainty and the financial downturn, I guess you're not doing executive coaching internally or bringing external coaches in. And this is published, by the way, so I'm not talking out of school, it's out there. And we said, no, we may or may not be spending more, but we have focused our executive coaching on the critical senior executives who can move us through this challenge. We cannot leave them without accelerating their mind shift. We cannot accelerate without their moving forward and being motivated. This is not a withdraw and do nothing because some signal tells us we don't know what's going to happen in 6 months or a year. So I want to encourage all of us to kind of get out of our comfort zones a little bit of, well, if things are difficult, challenging, or uncertain, we withdraw and instead say, where would I laser focus executive coaching and executive development so we do more than just survive, we act, thrive. Amanda, what are you seeing when clients say, we're just not sure and we're uncertain about where things are going, so we're not going to do anything?
Yeah, I actually love those conversations. We just had a conversation with one of our clients yesterday about that uncertainty and what do we do going into 2025. And so one of the things that we were walking them through or helping them to walk through yesterday is let's create foundations of your strategy. And so where can you anchor with the strategy, much kind of like what you're
Mhm.
saying, Jeff, and where do we get super laser focused? And so what we were talking to them about yesterday was order of magnitude. What's priority for the organization right now? And where do those leaders sit within the business units? And how can we help support them to not just keep the trains running,
Yeah,
but to continue to actually excel and accelerate in those business units that are critical to this organization's success? So we are helping that client lay out the kind of three foundational pillars to look at their executive coaching strategy in one bucket, to look at the other leaders all throughout the organization that they need to continue to support from some form of leadership development. Um, and that might not be totally CoachSource. It might be, okay, here's some things you can also do to help your folks, specifically if they sit within another business unit. And then what are those principles to which you're coaching to that draw directly to the strategic objectives, the ROI in the investment? And so, again, we're helping them think that through and really being very intentional about how they spend their dollars for 2025 for those folks where it really, really matters and they cannot afford to lose those people.
right. That makes a big difference. So, I know you and I and others probably on the call get this question a lot. So when would I focus on executive coaching, or when would I insert and kind of lay into executive development for an individual, let's say, or a team? And I think a lot of us overthink this. It's like, well, we're looking for a time when things aren't so disruptive. We're looking for a time when the team is in maintenance mode and there's not a lot of change going on. And we know this from evidence-based research in coaching and other places as well, adult learning theory. The best time to bring in coaching where you're trying to accelerate an individual or a team and shift everything about them to be better is while they are in the midst of all the change and the disruption. So, we don't want leaders assuming that what you as organizations do for executive development is purely theoretical or academic, in the sense that we do it in parallel when things are consistent and in maintenance mode and there's no disruption. We really want that shift and acceleration to happen while the disruption is happening. And if you've been a coach or you have seen coaching inside your organization or you've brought it in, you know that coaching in the midst of all the change makes the change so much better. People, leaders, and teams come out on the other side of that with a much greater sense of resilience. They come up with new skills. They're having different impact in the organization, and that's sustained. That is not does not go away. So, Amanda, I don't know what you see in terms of other organizations or what you see out there in terms of people taking too much time to scratch their head and think about, well, when really is the right time and how would I know?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're even asking that question, then it's the right time. Um, if it's even something you're pondering. Now, of course, not all things are alike, right? So we have different coaching modalities or interventions that we leverage. So we can pull the lever on something when it makes sense. And so one of the clients we were speaking to yesterday, we're kind of creating a rubric for them, which is if this, then that. So if I have a leader in transition at a certain level, yes, executive one-on-one coaching is right. If I have a team that might be having some challenges, then maybe we'll come in with group or team coaching, depending upon if it's an intact team or a group. Or maybe we're looking down the organization and we realize, well, shoot, we don't have enough ready now leaders, and we're
Mm.
going through all this change. Then you might want to consider some other type of coaching modality or group plus individual one-on-one. So, but back to the question, when is it right? I think Jeff, you're spot on. I mean, all of our clients are going through change right now, and we know the only thing that's constant is change in the world. And so, if you are experiencing that and you're feeling the growing pains, if you're hearing some discontent, and that part of your purview as a leader, a business unit head, CHRO, whatever your role is to make sure that people are not just surviving in your organization, but really being effective, productive, getting the results they want, making sure they can have the conversations with the board, making sure that they are growing, then you really do need to consider some type of coaching now or start to create the plan, or like I was saying before about one of our clients, creating the principles around it, the foundation, the framework, to be able to be very thoughtful about how and when you pull the lever to have some type of coaching modality.
Let's pick up on the second item you talked about, which was team coaching.
Hmm.
So, if I think most people, or I assume most people are familiar with team coaching in the sense that coaching happens for the intact team. If you look at the org chart, it's a leader and all the people that report to them. That's generally the team. It might be matrix, but the point is everybody's working together and they all report in some space. And you can envision, coaching for the leader, coaching for the team members, coaching the whole team in and facilitating, guiding, sharing expertise, whatever needs to happen. One of the things that we are seeing coaches do more of is actually coach to the system that the team is also in. Sometimes that's an internal system. What are the impacts of the different parts of the business that create the inputs for this team to create their output? What's the culture of the organization and how does that help or hinder what the team is trying to do? And even more importantly, really taking a look at externally in the organization, what external factors, customers, clients, vendors, economy, supply chain, are impacting how the team operates and performs. Now, before everybody blows up the chat with, you can't coach the whole world, you're boiling the ocean. I do want to share this. The notion that a coach only coaches the manager and the team members is like old news. Our experienced coaches and other things that our clients are asking for are in the context of these other pressures or this key change from a competitor. This is the focus for the team. This is what we want to see in terms of shifts in how the team operates and their impact on the business and their relationship with each other. So I think it's really helpful for anyone in HR and all of our friends in inside organizations to think about what are the major internal and external forces that mean our teams or a critical team or some teams in a specific space need to shift and change. And that makes team coaching ripe. It's not, in case anyone tells you this, it's not what they used to say, what your grandparents' car used to be. It's not just so the team feels better and they know each other better. That's like the baseline of what happens before team coaching begins. It really is, what does this team need to do or be different to each other and to their internal and external partners to make the business impact that they want to have and that the whole company needs from them?
I'll give you a live example. I won't share the client name, but just this week, it kicks off next week, but just this week, we worked with one of our clients, global client. where they have some challenges. The challenge being that the business unit that we're working with, all eyes are on that business unit, and they're growing. They have, I think they're tripling next year the number of people that are within that business unit. And so there's about 10 leads within that business unit. And now the board is looking down specifically onto those leaders to say,
Wow.
what are you doing? And how are you going to continue to grow the organization, specifically because that one business unit is driving all revenue. And
Mhm.
so, and these folks, these leaders are technical. And so they have to learn how to straddle between how do we lead our teams to get that output, and also how do we then speak to the board about what we're doing, why we're hitting targets, maybe we're missing targets, maybe we're not. So we just put together a team intervention for them so that they can gain the skill sets, they can gain the confidence to have those conversations. They can navigate a very, very fast-paced environment. They work in an agile environment. So they're cross collaborating all the time. And so we just put together, it's a 4 month program. And the reason being 4 months is that they have some pressures where they have to meet a deadline in April. And so we've brought in a coach who can understand their global culture, can speak multiple languages. So also is navigating in 3 different languages with this team. And then what we've done is we've put together some skills building at the very beginning, some assessments, as well as to have them gain awareness, as well as then they each get individual one-on-one coaching I think it's 3 times a month now for 4 months, in addition to some group
Mm.
coaching. So it's going to be I'm really excited for it to kick off next week. It's going to be very powerful to see what this team does. Again, they're in a situation where they cannot afford to lose any one of those 10 team members.
Yeah.
And so, and it's also very important that each of those team members, those leaders, understands what, with the pressures they have on them, how they can navigate back up and communicate effectively to the board, which is watching them.
Yeah, that's so critical. Thanks for that example. That's great. So whenever we talk about team coaching, it always begs the question, well, then what is group coaching and where does that fit into my executive development and how might I use that? So at its basis, group coaching is not an intact team on the org chart. And so a group coaching can involve anyone in the organization where there is a similar need, a common goal, an area for development or acceleration or shifting in thinking and behaviors that needs to happen across different people that might be in different parts of the organization. They don't report to each other. They may not even work together. They're not matrixed anywhere on paper. But you, as a person who keeps their finger on the pulse of what the organization needs, says, everybody who actually does this work or has this role or impacts this client, we need to accelerate and do something different there. And so that's why group coaching is so flexible. And I think a lot of organizations don't think about using it or asking Amanda and her team, like, how could this apply? Um, we, I think ICF came up with this research as well, and we've seen it in our own clients when we do our own research. And that is the most common use for some kind of group coaching is typically attached to a leadership development program, whether it's an internal leadership program or external. So either before, during, or after, there's some group experience to hardwire the learning or to get people to practice or to support them in the training and the learning they're getting in a different environment. But there's so much more there. And we've seen a lot of places where um, when you need the wisdom of the group to drive and accelerate everybody else's thinking in that group, that's a great place for group coaching. We see this a lot in spaces where companies have put together a policy or a practice, or they're trying to implement an initiative or a new leadership competency, and then they want to know how well it's going, but it's not an engagement survey. It's not something they want to send people. They actually create group coaching, and the groups of people who are implementing this or trying it out or have been practicing it for a year come and share their best practices. And we leverage the wisdom of the group with a qualified coach to actually get everyone to be better at that policy, that practice, that way of leading, that leadership competency. That's just one of the examples. But depending on what the topic is, whenever you think about, I need to accelerate and leverage the wisdom of a group, that's the group that's ripe for group coaching. Amanda, what are you seeing?
I think you nailed it, Jeff. I don't know if I have anything else to add to that. Um, but exactly. I mean, we have a lot of our coaches who are in some of our client partner organizations where they already have an existing leadership development program, and our coaches, because our coaches have different areas of expertise and knowledge and skill sets, we're able to choose a coach that's the best fit for that program to help either with that group coaching piece, or if they really have excelled in a particular leadership program, they might come out and do some additional group coaching or one-on-one coaching after that. So yeah, I think spot on, Jeff.
And in the example you gave of team coaching, all of us on this call, including those of us at CoachSource, um, we just out of time. It's like we got to do things better and faster. And what I used to think it was the old adage. Now it just seems to be common. We'd love a shift in this team, or we'd love to pull this group together and have them do a 180 in how they lead. Can you do that in 2 hours for us? Can you just do a 2 hour virtual and just kind of make all that happen? Turns out that's not how it works. But we get this question a lot, like, so how would we frame that up? And the good news is Amanda and her team can do that for you. But think about the basic neuroscience of learning, and that is this iterative process of coaching and then a space and time to think, reflect, practice, do, get some informal feedback, and then come back and do the next coaching. Whether that's a team coaching experience or group coaching experience, we see this a lot in one-on-one executive coaching. Yes, the coach and the client might meet for an hour every other week, but in between that time, between those sessions, this is where the actual shifts and getting out of your comfort zone and trying new behaviors and new thinking and watching and seeing what the impact is really happens. So I want to encourage all of us to think about, it doesn't always require a 7-day offsite at a very expensive hotel. That is not what I'm saying. But this notion of how long will it take is, what's the impact you're after? And then how can we make that happen? So in Amanda's previous example, when an organization says this team needs to shift, we have a deadline, we will accelerate the frequency and the interaction and the dedication of people's time, effort, and energy in a 4-month period to make this happen. Excellent call. That's not a problem, and that's great. And other organizations that say there's no way we can compress this and we don't want to, then it's okay to take the iterative, a little bit longer view to get the impact that you want. So, Amanda, what kind of time, or can't you do this faster, pressures do you see happening in organizations?
Um, the pressures, I think, Jeff, we've kind of hit on already, which are um, market change, a shift in the market, and then how do we bring a leader or a team up to speed very, very, very quickly. So we're seeing that a lot, or just the changing complexity of the dynamics of just what's
Yeah,
happening in organizations and how fast they're happening. The other, you said the speed. The other thing is, we have a lot of our client organizations right now that we're working with. Um, they're not, they're no longer creating leadership competencies or job descriptions,
yeah,
because things are shifting so rapidly. And so it's not like, can you do this tomorrow? It's more, um, can you coach within this ambiguity if not everything's clear to that leader and not everything is clear to the leadership team with the changes we're experiencing? So, I'm not sure that as you said, Jeff, it's not like a one size
right.
fits all. We're going to come in for 2 hours, but those are the kind of urgency pressures we're seeing, especially as just market, the whole market, the world of
Yeah,
the world is so complex right now.
yeah,
And a lot of our organizations, the organizations we work with, are very complex, and we're able to meet their need or their demand and co-create with them the best solution that's going to help them still to create the impact that the leaders need to have right now.
yeah. And I know our coaches are, to the notion that you mentioned, the example you mentioned of, like, the job description is, that's not just all they do anymore. It changes, and there's more available, more they need to do because change is coming fast, or we're not doing job descriptions anymore. That takes a really unique approach to coaching. And, I've seen coaches coach to how can I help this leader be more curious so they get the right signals of what they should be doing right now instead of relying on the old job description or the loudest signal that came in or the most recent signal that came in. Another thing I see coaches coaching to when with leaders in this kind of turmoil and ambiguity, and there's nothing really written down because as soon as I write it down and do it, it's out of date, is to coach toward curiosity. So, what should they be looking for in processes, people, relationships, clients, customers, and keeping my finger on the pulse of that? That gives me the signals about what I need to do, who I need to be, and then how I lead my team to get that kind of output. That's not going to be static, that's written in a job description. And it is something we need to coach our leaders inside companies to be better at. Yes, they need to be flexible, agile, they need to be resilient, but coaching them to watch for the right signals and to know which pulses to keep their fingers on is something that is unique, it's specific, and the business impact will be seen immediately. And it's what more organizations need, not just better job descriptions or the paperwork of leadership, keeping up with the pace of change of the actual leadership that needs to happen.
Yeah, and back to sort of job descriptions and leadership competencies, like I mentioned, we have several clients where they don't have leadership competencies anymore. And or so there's a couple ways we approach that with them or where we're in conversations of how we can best support them. One is, well, if you don't have them right now, would you like to have them? If not for the long term, maybe for the interim, particularly if there's something mission critical they have to do. And
Right.
so we have our coaches who can come in and help, whether it's a specific business unit, HRBPs, a CHRO, whomever that might be, help them to create those, if not for the long term, for what's on the horizon that they can actually see. So that's one thing. The other thing is, if they don't have leadership competencies and they're saying, well, how do we define what's supposed to happen, or how do we think about coaching in with this lens? We'll help them create some baseline baseline comparisons or best practices to evaluate the impact of the coaching and draw that through line again, both quantitatively and qualitatively, so that they know that they're still, if it's not the leadership competencies they're coaching to, that they're still coaching to something that's important for the business overall.
Right. And that brings up the hint of, did you just describe the return on investment of coaching or the one formula I should be using to
Mm.
measure coaching? No, you did not say that, but you did indicate
Well,
what we are hearing more of, and that is there may not be the one metric, the one measurement, the one algorithm, the one formula that is your holy grail, if you will, of measuring all your coaching. Instead, what Amanda just described is working with organizations and even at the individual coaching level to say, what is the business impact that this person is going to have, or relationship impact, or client impact when they achieve their coaching goals? And then identifying those with the leader and the organization to say, we expect these signals to move, we expect these needles to move. And those are the ones that can help you in the organization decide and define, yes, this is what success would look like in coaching for this leader or this team or this group. And it may be different for the next leader or the next team or the next group. And at CoachSource, we do want to work with organizations to find out, help you uncover what is the impact you're after, and we will help design the coaching to that impact versus here's the one formula or here's the one metric. And as long as you use this, we can guarantee a return on investment or return on coaching. It really is what your organization values and who your leaders need to be and how they impact people, products, and the organization that makes a difference. And that's your measure of whether coaching is working or not. Okay, I see Mary
I
over
want,
here. Mary, anything
I
else you
want
want
to,
to add before we move on to Q&A?
yeah.
I don't want to run out of time for folks.
I actually want to
Oh,
talk about I do want to
yeah.
talk about
Sure.
metrics real quick. I want to talk about three or four examples where we are working with our clients, like concrete examples of metrics. One is everybody can look on SHRM's website and look at the how much, when you lose a mission critical leader, the cost to replace them. So we have a calculator that we've been using with our clients, which is around, if somebody actually leaves a team, what's their salary, what's the percentage what's the cost to actually replace them outside of recruitment fees? And then what does that mean in total if you lose one or more of those folks? So that's a calculator we've been using and showing if you're going to invest X in coaching, but it would cost you Y to lose these people, you actually have a savings. So that's one. Another one, we were in conversations with a manufacturing client this week, and one of the things we were speaking to them about is that how they empower folks on the line. So, and one of the things we were talking through is around, it's not a direct through line, but if there, for example, would be safety issues, if people get the competencies and skills they need from director manager on down and that trickles on down, how do you show how that safety has improved on the line? And then the third one, which is one of my favorites right now, and we have a case study we can share with folks, is around a team coaching engagement one of our great coaches did with a global team where there was a product launch that didn't go according to plan. And so the coach came back in, was able to leverage that team to get realigned and to relaunch the product to great success. So in speaking, I spoke to him last week or the week before, and we actually have some real metrics around team satisfaction and retention improvement. And so those were things that are real and as a result of that team coaching engagement. And again, that was a mission critical team. This was a product that if it didn't get to market, and it drove a lot of revenue for this organization, if it didn't get to market, that not only would hurt their bottom line, but also would be seen as a big failure within the organization. So those are three things that we're talking a lot about. And again, it's not, as you said, Jeff, not for everyone. It's not cookie cutter, but when we can dig in with our partners to understand what's really important for them right now, we have a better way to set up some metrics. Oh, one other one that I failed to mention, which is one of my favorite questions that we've been asking in our to our coaches and to the leaders, which is, what business problem are you solving?
Exactly.
And so we're able to share that with our clients and to provide some more insights, especially looking into 2025 with all of the things that are happening in the external world, and then add that the complexity within organizations. We have some better insights that we can share with our clients so that we can help them keep up to date with what they should be thinking about when it comes to their leader development, their leadership development, and the coaching that they might have within the organization.
Great, thanks for that. Mary?
Yeah, I'm happy to pop in here, and I had in my notes to bring up the ROI conversation. So I'm so glad that we're mind melding on this, because I think one of the things where, Amanda, you've certainly been adding value since you've come in, is really helping our clients make the ROI case internally. So helping to build that based on what the specific, whatever the initiative is that we're looking at, and making that ROI case preemptively as part of it. And, we just, some of the statistics that we've seen, you talked about the cost to replace an employee. We've seen numbers anywhere from 100% to 400% of the salary of the individual, depending on where they are inside the organization, the level of leadership they're at. And we talked about teams like in that sense of, I'm working on a product development and the product didn't come out, or it came out less than stellar. That's a clear hit to the ROI. But then there's other times where we're going in and actually looking at a team coaching engagement with the senior leadership, right? With the C-suite team. And that obviously is even more mission critical than any individual product team within the organization. So one of the other questions I had, uh, I wanted to just throw one more statistic out, which is in the role transition. The numbers are somewhere between 40 to 60% of new leaders in a role, that could be new to the role or new to the company, fail within the first 18 to 24 months. And that's that's just such a clear ROI challenge for any organization, of all the process that you go through to bring a person into the organization, to move that person along through the organization, and then to have them leave because they're not producing the results that you're looking for, when they could be if they had a little bit more support. Sometimes it's just not a fit, and that certainly happens. Okay. I've got another question for you, but I just want to, because I know everybody's schedules are busy. We're not going to do a first Friday in January because it's the Friday after New Year's. So we think most people are going to be doing something else. We will be doing one in February. So first Friday in February, we'll same time, same channel. We will certainly get that information out to you after the new year in terms of the actual topic. And so we do plan to keep this going. Again, if you have any topics you want to see covered, feel free to reach out to me, Mary at CoachSource. Also, know that we're here at CoachSource to be strategic partner sounding boards to you. If you're an existing client, you can reach out to Amanda or one of your client service director. If you're new to CoachSource and want to learn more, absolutely reach out to me. Very happy to have those conversations, and we welcome those. Okay. And if anybody on the call has any questions, feel free to raise your hand or to put something in chat. So we're happy to answer those. But I'm going to start with one. When we talk about Jason, we can just keep us in conversation, please. When we talk about the group and team coaching, even one-on-one coaching, how do you get buy-in from the team, from the group? Because everyone feels like I'm too busy for this. So, what are some of the best practices that organizations can do to increase the buy-in on that? And what are some of the things that you can build into these engagements so that the leader quickly sees the value in putting time toward the coaching, whether it's team or group or individual?
Amanda, you want to go first?
No, I'm going to defer to you first.
Okay.
From
So,
just from the coaching lens, because I'll switch it to the business lens. But
yeah. So I would recommend, and I've seen this when I've worked inside organizations, manufacturing, healthcare, where there is pain, that's where you start. Pain in relationships, pain in performance, things aren't working well. That's the place to start. There is something that is not working, and it's typically not a little process tweak or a plus one or a continuous improvement. There is something fundamentally shifting, changing, or impacting that individual, that team, or that group, that layer, or those people who have similar needs across the organization. And that's where the pain points happen to be. We see this a lot in pharmaceutical companies where the pain point is in research, when things have to happen even faster. We see it in consumer goods companies where a new go-to-market space or a new product space really has to happen quickly. And the pain point is we're losing out. So if you're in HR or you're inside the organization or you're looking across senior executives, what is it that's keeping them up at night? And where is the pain inside their own leadership, their own team, or the group of individuals who have that similar need across the organization?
yeah, and to piggyback on that, Jeff, I like to play the movie forward. So,
Mm.
if you're still in this place in 6 months, in terms of getting the buy-in, if you're still in this place in 6 months, then what? And so whether it is, and focusing on however, again, maybe that leader, that team measures things or KPIs or whatever they're using as a tool internally. For example, if you don't have the revenue growth, if the project isn't complete, if the product hasn't been launched, then what? And I think that when you can make it, especially like you mentioned pharma. So if we're working with a lot of data-driven folks or scientists or people like that, really making it about the data is very, I think, helpful. And being able to draw that direct line to then get the buy-in
Mhm.
uh, at the top and with that team as well. Those of us who have done any type of facilitation coaching, we know sometimes there's going to be resistance, right? And so our coaches are very skilled at being able to navigate those challenges. With where I sit and partnering with our clients, it goes back to helping them to create the business case for it, to be able to, and especially now more and more and more with how decisions are being made and really focused on data, what is that case that needs to be made in order to get that buy-in? Again, back to, is it revenue growth? Is it a project that won't be complete? So that's how I kind of help them navigate that when we're having the conversations.
Okay. Don't have any questions coming in, but I'm sure we had some other topics in our notes to cover with this.
So what's the I think one of the things that we, typically find with the people we work with inside organizations is sometimes they're not the only person who sees across all of executive development, or they're not the only person who sees the business impact piece that needs to happen. So when we talk about, internally, if it's on your plate or you are an HRBP or you think it's part of your realm to develop executives, who else do they need to partner with, be influenced by, to connect the dots across their own organization internally so they can put their finger on the right people, issues, challenges to bring coaching solutions to. So they're not doing it
Yeah.
alone. You think I'm the only lens on this, so it must not, it's just me or it's just this one executive. We won't really worry about that right now.
Yeah, I think it depends on how the organization is structured. But for example, with the CHRO or head of L&D, definitely partnering with the HRBPs because the HRBPs have their fingers on the pulse, right? They know who's within that business unit, what their remit is, where there might be some gaps, skills or otherwise, or succession gaps. And so I think really having a strong partnership with between those groups and then also any business unit leaders. Um,
Yeah.
Depending, but again, as spans of control are starting to increase with leaders, they may not also know at times what's
Oh,
happening, lower down. So I think it's, understanding again, depending upon the complex nature of the organization, who really has the knowledge within a team, within a unit, to be able to have those conversations.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Amanda. That's a really good point. All right. So we hadn't had any questions come in. I'm sure there's questions, but we haven't seen any. But
it's a quiet Friday for people, I
it's a
guess. So
quiet
just
Friday. We're getting to the holidays. Some holiday parties may be starting. But but I so appreciate Amanda and Jeff you sharing your insights today. And I appreciate everybody who joined us for this conversation. We'll be sending out a recording, of course, as always. The recording will also be posted on our website at coachsource.com. And we will also have some sort of a recap that we'll be able to put out and send to everybody. So thanks again for joining us today. And thanks to you, Amanda and Jeff, for contributing to such a robust conversation. We will
my
Well,
see you
pleasure.
all. Happy holidays, whatever you
Happy,
choose to
happy.
celebrate over the next couple of months. And we will see you in February.
Bye,
thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
Thanks, everybody.